Egg Harbor independent French leader at Charles Schwab in the Consumer Square Shopping Plaza.
Filling Marble and Tile Outlet, Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. FillingMarble.com.
Intuitive Women's Health in Summers Point, accepting new patients. Schedule an appointment today at intuitivewomenshealth.net.
East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows services all of South Jersey. If you call, they'll show up. Call East Coast today at 609-646-1444. Online at eastcoastroofing.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses. From Town Square Media, South Jersey.
The radio home for Philadelphia Flyers hockey.
In front, deflected, they score!
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
And another edition of Sports Bash Saturday here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig here live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Also live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at 97.3 ESPN is the stream. We got a lot to get to on the show today, of course. Your text messages, as always, at 609-403-0973. You also can comment on the stream, of course, 973 ESPN. The comment on the stream on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We got a busy show coming up. We got Andy McNamara from Sportsnet NFL and Fantasy Sports Analyst will join us coming up at 12:20 to get into all of the NFL championship game action. Of course, you can hear it all right here on 97.3 ESPN. We got, of course, Packers. We got Bucks. And then on the flip side of Packers and Bucks, you have the Chiefs and the Bills. Some awesome matchups. You don't want to miss it all coming up here on 97.3 ESPN. 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. We're still working out some of the kinks and issues with our streaming. So we ask you all, please be patient with us as we work through some of the stuff that's going on out there. The Eagles hired a new head coach this week. We will get into that. Also, we will talk some more Sixers and NBA coming up. We got Bryan Oringher, a former NBA scout, will join us coming up at 1:30 p.m. today. I wanted to start with the Eagles head coach situation because I think that we at times are overlooking the fact that when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the reasons why Nick Siriani was hired is because he fits in with what the team wants. He fits in with what they're looking for. And I think as time goes on, you're going to find out that Nick Siriani is exactly what the Eagles need. He's exactly what the Eagles were looking for. And when you think about this organization, when you think about what is going on with the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie told you from the very beginning that they're looking for, number one, a coach who can coach the coaches. All right. Well, Nick Siriani was in charge of the offensive staff down in Indianapolis. Frank Reich was the head coach, but Siriani was in charge of the offensive staff. The Eagles also told you they want to be innovative offensively. Well, Siriani and the Colts offense was top 10 in the NFL with two different quarterbacks in point scoring. In 2018 with Andrew Luck, and then in 2020 with Philip Rivers. So two different quarterbacks, you're among the best in the league in scoring. Then you flip it over to what was going on with the Eagles this year when it came to how they use their personnel. What did the Colts do? The Colts were famous for saying, we don't have an offense trying to fit people into. We're going to take who we have and build around them. So they drafted Jonathan Taylor. They were top 10 in the NFL in rush attempts. They had Nyheim Hines. He was a guy who ran the ball and caught the ball. They had Michael Pittman. They had when he was healthy, T.Y. Hilton. They had Pascal. They had multiple tight ends. So they said, how do we use all the guys we have? They were never at a point where they were trying to fit people into a system. They were trying to amplify who they had. That's why they went to the playoffs those 2 seasons. That's why they almost had a chance to beat the Buffalo Bills a couple of weeks ago in Buffalo, by the way, with Philip Rivers. And now you're getting a guy who's going to bring all of those ideas, all those concepts with him to Philadelphia. I don't think that can be understated. It cannot be understated that the Philadelphia Eagles said, we are looking for something specific. And they said, Nick Siriani, you fit what we're looking for. And that's the reason why we are where we are right now. That's the reason why we are sitting here with the Philadelphia Eagles. And you think about, all right, what are we doing with the Philadelphia Eagles? We're looking for an offensive-minded coach. Siriani, check. A coach of coaches, check. You're looking for someone who fits a mold. And a lot of times in life, we forget that when you are looking for someone for a job, when you are looking for someone to help you with something, whatever it may be, whatever avenue of life, they have to fit what you're looking for. Adam Kaplan brought up yesterday on Football at 4 the idea that when a movie is casting an actor, they're looking for someone who fits the role that they're looking for. It's a casting call. The Philadelphia Eagles went through a casting call. The Philadelphia Eagles went through a process of trying to find a person who fits the lead role that they're looking for. And I'm always reminded of the story that was told about, just to go to movies for a hot minute. There's so many movies over the years that are famous or infamous for casting the right or wrong person, right? It's a long story about how, for example, Warner Brothers went through casting 20 people before they chose Henry Cavill to be the Superman and Man of Steel. That there's all these stories about how they went through 10 people before they landed on Denzel Washington to be Herman Boone and Remember the Titans. There's all these stories about coaches in the NFL, but we forget that this happens in other areas of life. This is nothing new. And Jeffrey Lurie said, I'm going through a casting call. I'm going to interview as many people as possible. You got into double digits of interviews. And you went in there and you said, I am looking for somebody specific. I am looking for something this. And I have to find somebody who fits the role, who fits the casting call. And that's what the Eagles did. So when people talk about Deuce Staley, when they talk about Josh McDaniels, when they talk about all the other guys who were interviewed, as I said on game night this past week, half these candidates I have zero interest in because those candidates didn't fit what the Eagles were looking for. They only fit in with what you were looking for. See, you got to remember, the Eagle fan might have been looking for something different than Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. Jeffrey Lurie claims, whether you believe him or not, he claims that he has a great track record of hiring head coaches. All right, well, you hired Andy Reid. He's probably going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame one day. You hired Andy Reid when nobody wanted him. You hired Ray Rose. He got you the postseason in his first year as a coach. You hired Chip Kelly. Got you the postseason first year as a head coach. You hired Doug Peterson. Nobody wanted him. You won a Super Bowl. In Jeffrey Lurie's mind, that's the resume of an owner who knows how to hire people. So under his criteria, he thinks he knows what he's doing. And I'm going to wait and see on Nick Siriani. And I'm going to tell you right now, Josh McDaniels would have never made sense for this job. The more time went on, the more it seems like that no matter who you want to believe, whatever report, it just didn't seem like it was going to work out. For whatever reason, Josh McDaniels doesn't have a job. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he could have had the Detroit job. He might have had a chance at the Eagles job. He got ran out of Denver and he backed out of the Colts job. There's something off with this dude. So that's why he's not here. There's probably some leftover baggage that has to do with the Eagles. The Eagles found out about McDaniels moving forward. There was no way I wanted Dennis Allen. That guy was 8-28 as a head coach. I think he's a better coordinator than a head coach. He's got to prove to me that he can coach before I want him as with, my team, for example. You look around at the other coaches they had. They interviewed Kellen Moore. Did you really want Kellen Moore to be the head coach? They interviewed Jim Fossil's son, John Fossil. Did you really want John Fossil to be the head coach? Gerard Mayo would have been interesting, but the big question would have been what staff would he put together, because he's a defensive coach. He's a coach that would have come in here and been very, very green around the gills. Let's be realistic. Nick Siriani has experience in the NFL. He's coached in the league since 2009. He's worked for Todd Haley, Romeo Crennel, Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn, and Frank Reich. Those are 5 different head coaches who all want him on their staffs. Romeo Crennel and Mike McCoy had him as a wide receiver coach. Anthony Lynn had him as a quarterback coach. Frank Reich wants him as an offensive coordinator. Todd Haley wanted this guy to be his coach as a offensive early assistant. So there's a history of him in the NFL. He has more NFL coaching acumen than Gerard Mayo. He also has more NFL coaching acumen than Deuce Staley. Mike Gill brought this up on the Sports Bash during the week. If Deuce Staley didn't play for the Eagles, would anybody care that he was not hired? No. The answer is no. You can't tell me that at any point in time, if Deuce Staley was a guy who played for, let's say, the Chicago Bears. If Deuce played for the Chicago Bears, when people think, I need Staley as my head coach. No, it's because Staley was on the Eagles staff for about a decade. And now he might not be moving forward. There's reports that he actually might go to the Bears. There's reports that he might go to the Chiefs moving forward. We'll find out who Siriani brings in for his staff. But as I speak to you here on 97.3 ESPN, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, you can text in at 609-403-0973. You can comment on the stream as well on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. As I speak to all of you out there, as I look deep into the camera for those watching at this moment, I'm telling you right now, I just ask that you give Nick Siriani a chance. I ask that you let this thing play out, because I've run into a lot of people who have been against this guy. And when I talk to them, whether it's on social media or I've seen people at the gym, wherever it may be, I ask them, well, why did you want that coach? What don't you like about Siriani? And I found out that the majority of people, it's not that they're against Siriani, it's that they just thought there should be somebody else. And then when you piece it together, you realize that somebody else maybe should have never been the coach in the first place. It's like Adam Kaplan said yesterday. Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, went through a casting call. And the Eagles found the right man to put on that role. Now, the question is, who's going to be supporting cast? That's the key. Who is Siriani bringing with him? There's a lot of conjecture out there about a lot of names right now. People from the Chargers organization, people from the Colts organization, people from multiple places that he has worked. But I know one thing for sure. If Nick Siriani gets the staff right, I promise you this team will be back in the playoffs. Because a lot of the problems with the Eagles in 2020 came down to 2 things: injuries and Carson Wentz. The coaching staff has a chance to fix Carson Wentz. The injuries are out of your control. But if you can get Carson Wentz back on track, you're going to be a lot better next year. A healthy offensive line would do great wonders for this team to try to make the postseason. 609-403-0973 is the text where Andy McNamara from Sportsnet will join us coming up at 12:20 today. Also, former NBA scout Bryan Oringher at 1:30 talk Sixers and NBA. We got a comment right now over on Facebook. Joe is watching on Facebook. He says, Josh, who would you like Siriani to bring with him for his staff? Well, I know that there's a lot of rumors about a lot of guys, but I personally would love to see Anthony Lynn, because Anthony Lynn has a track record in the NFL as an offensive coordinator. I would like to see them bring Anthony Lynn as an OC. Remember, he was in Buffalo for a while. I would also like them to call Todd Haley. I know Todd Haley's got a lot of negative karma around him because of the presentation of him from Hard Knocks, how him and Hugh Jackson were clashing heads. But Todd Haley has a history of coaching wide receivers. Todd Haley as a coach has a history as an offensive coordinator in the NFL. He was a much more successful OC and wide receiver coach than head coach. And if Haley thinks so highly, Joe, of Siriani to give him his first job, I wonder if Siriani would return the favor and say, hey, Todd, would you like to be on the staff? Because remember, Todd Haley was in Pittsburgh when they had all those great receivers, guys like Antonio Brown coming through and guys like that. He's coached numerous places in the NFL, so he has experience as a coordinator, as a position coach. So the two main offensive names I personally would like to see are Anthony Lynn, either as an offensive coordinator or some other, maybe a quarterback coach, something, and then Todd Haley either as the OC or as the wide receiver coach. Defense is a little bit more complicated because I think that there's rumors about, a couple guys from the Colts, the one linebacker coach Gannon from the Colts. People credit him for the development of Darius Leonard, who's become one of the best linebackers in the NFL. I know people are pointing out to him. I don't feel hyper strongly about the defensive coordinator, except who I don't want. Like, I'm actually kind of glad that Raheem Morris got scooped up because I think Morris might not have been a good fit for this organization. Wade Phillips definitely is an intriguing name out there that could be considered. He did work with Romeo Crennel. Romeo Crennel is out there. Do you bring in Crennel? Do you bring in Wade Phillips? I think that if you have some veterans at the coordinator positions, it allows Siriani to be the CEO of the team. Look at what Urban Meyer is doing right now down in Jacksonville. He's getting veteran coordinators on his staff. He's getting veterans out there on his staff to be a part of that staff. So when you think about it, you have a guy in Urban Meyer who understands that. If Urban Meyer understands that, I think Siriani can figure that out. And he's been in the NFL for about, 11 years now? Urban Meyer's never coached a day in the NFL. Urban Meyer doesn't have any NFL experience. And he's saying, I'm going to go get some guys who are going to run the offense, the defense. I'm going to be the CEO. And if Siriani's this great coach of coaches, as we're told he was in Indianapolis, he can be that here in Philadelphia. We'll get back to your text and more in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Thanks to Joe for commenting there on the Facebook stream. Coming up next, we'll preview the NFL championship games with my man, Andy McNamara from Sportsnet. You've heard him all season long on game night. Now he joins us on Sports Bash Saturday to get more into that. Coming up next here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Here's a long shot by Shake. It's got again. Shake Milton is on fire. Whoa.
The Sixers are in Detroit to face the Pistons.
Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Stop the countdown. It's not a new year we're celebrating. It's an all-new Matt Blatt Nissan. Yes, you heard right. Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot, and online at mattblattnissan.com. Help us celebrate when you get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan with the Matt Blatt Nissan Fast Track Checkout. Available online at mattblattnissan.com. Our non-touch delivery and electronic paperwork ensures your safety comes first. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan wants your trade. Bring it in today and help us celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online. We want to help with your credit approval. And don't forget, with Matt Blatt, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan online at mattblattnissan.com. Credit may affect terms. Negative equity will be refinanced with the new vehicle. Get all the details at mattblattnissan.com. Let's get it on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Carmen's startup found an angel investor, but now they're asking for a miracle from her development team.
Hello, this is Carmen. That's exciting news. I guess we could launch early.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Babe, look, cash pop from the New Jersey Lottery. We just got to match one number, 1 through 15, to win.
Whoa, so easy.
Our anniversary date? September
6th?
14th.
Not to interrupt you guys, but the more numbers you play, the better your odds of winning.
Well, the 6th was our first date anniversary.
Aw, let's play both numbers.
With Cash Pop, you could win up to 250 times your wager. So pop in and play. Anything can happen in Jersey. Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Beachcombing, baking cookies, learning French. Aren't these what you'd rather be doing than thinking about your Medicare prescriptions? Well, Walgreens is here to help you get back to it with convenient refill and pickup options, expert pharmacists to answer all your questions, and Medicare copays as low as $0. Zero. Which is also the number of cares in the world you'll have as you stroll the beach, eating cookies and speaking French. Oh la la. Walgreens.
$0 copays apply to Tier 1 generic drugs and select plans where Walgreens is a preferred pharmacy.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so they're best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
Pros bring something extra to every job. Now at the Home Depot, they also get something extra. Pro Extra, our free loyalty program built for pros just like you. Members earn perks with every dollar spent, like Pro Extra Dollars, a tool rental credit, and more. New members get $20 off their next in-store purchase of $200 or more just for signing up. Learn more at homedepot.com/Pro Extra. New year, more rewards, Pro Extra, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Before you drive the all-new Nissan Rogue, you gotta ask yourself, how rogue are you gonna go? We talking be one with nature in the desert Rogue? Go snowshoeing in Alaska Rogue? Or take the long way home just because kind of rogue? Just a question, but with 5 available drive modes, you're sure to find the answer.
Go rogue in the all-new, fiercely reimagined 2021 Nissan Rogue, now with the most standard safety features in its class. See Owner's Manual for important safety information. Auto Pacific segmentation. 2021 Nissan Rogue versus latest in market competitors. Base models compared.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Yes, live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig here, hanging out with you. Of course, get back to your text in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Joining us right now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline and live on the stream, he is Andy McNamara. You've heard him here on 97.3 ESPN, Sportsnet in Toronto, fantasy sports, NFL analyst, and very proud Browns fan joins us right now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Andy, it's good to see you in the virtual flesh.
Yes, Josh. Pleasure to be on with you on the radio, online, everywhere. Feeling good? How's things with you?
You know, the world is an interesting place because the Philadelphia Eagles have hired a head coach. Nobody's happy with Ben Simmons. The Flyers found a way to lose a game the other night. And the Phillies haven't re-signed JT Realmuto. Well, I know your Blue Jays up there are actually signing free agents. So it's funny the differences in the sports from one city to another, but all is well otherwise.
That's awesome. And look, we got like UFC tonight, mega card, McGregor back in there, NFL Conference Championship. This is a great weekend for sports.
It absolutely is. And I'll give my UFC 257 picks a little bit later in the show today, so folks can tune in for that. Let's get into these games, though, first. Listen, these are some great matchups, but I got to ask you off the bat. Everyone seems to have an opinion about which one they like more, Andy. So do you have a preference on which of these matchups you like more? Because I'm running into people. Some people are like, oh, I'd rather have one team, right? I'd rather have another team. And I'm just kind of like, they're both great matchups, but I feel like everyone is kind of leaning to one versus the other. Are you in the same boat?
Honestly, without a dog in the fight now, to just think of this as an entertainment standpoint for these two games, how could you have two better matchups? Like, Josh, I'm trying to think back, and I'm sure there is, people can tweet in whatever about better conference championships where both teams are pretty much pick'ems. You have 4 stellar quarterbacks, 4 amazing offenses. I can't remember in recent memory 2 matchups that are better. Like, you have 2 future Hall of Famers in Brady and Rodgers. Then you got the now guys. You got Mahomes, defending Super Bowl champ, and Josh Allen, who is with the surging Buffalo Bills. Like, this is just perfect. Like, I don't have a preference as far as which one I'm looking forward to most. I'm just looking forward to watching all of it. And then we go one step further. Like, you can't really lose with a Super Bowl matchup between these 4 teams either.
When you think about also, let's go over the AFC specifically. I love the fact that it's a contrast. It's the quarterbacks of the now versus on the NFC side, the quarterbacks of yesteryear. And nothing against Aaron Rodgers, but he's probably about 5 years away from retirement, right? And Brady, only God knows, because at this point, Brady's borrowing from some time continuum in another dimension to stay young. So, to me, I love the AFC situation because you have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, 2 quarterbacks who, if you go back when they were drafted, a lot of people didn't like them too much.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, when we look at the 2 quarterbacks that you mentioned, Mahomes and Allen, let's start with Mahomes. Remember, this guy sat for the full first year, played the last game of the season, but he openly credits and the selflessness of Alex Smith. Like, I don't know if there's a better football human out there right now as a player than Alex Smith, who essentially coached up Pat Mahomes to take his job in Kansas City, because that's what happened. Full year. Now imagine the different scenarios where Mahomes and Allen could have gone. Both very raw at the time, both lots of question marks. If you threw in Pat Mahomes straight away day one on a different team, would he have been the same guy? Josh Allen. People say, oh, the Browns, the Jets should have taken him. If he went to the Browns, the Jets, the Cardinals, just about any other team, Josh Allen would be considered, I believe, in Mitch Trubisky territory at best, because he was so raw. But he goes to Buffalo, and you have the same team, continuity-wise, coaching, offensive coordinator, and you're able to grow him in your system gradually. And now we're seeing, out of that group, that 2018 group, Josh Allen had the biggest boom or bust, the highest ceiling of talent, but also if things didn't go well where he was put, it could have gone south real quick. And we've seen the growth, and he's just continued to get better and better every year, every series. He's got the playoff win out of the way now as well. Those are 2 guys where situations can make the quarterback, and those are 2 perfect examples of that.
Andy McNamara joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday here on 97.3 ESPN. You can watch the show on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at 973 ESPN. You can follow Andy on Twitter at AndyMC81 for all your NFL and fantasy sports analysis. Let's go down that rabbit hole just for a hot minute, Andy. You mentioned about if anyone else would have drafted Josh Allen. To me, people overlook how circumstances impacts these quarterbacks. People act like, oh, the quarterback win-loss record or how many Super Bowl. Well, guess what? If Tom Brady doesn't end up in New England, does he become Tom Brady? I don't know. Yeah. Look at your guy, Baker Mayfield. He has Hugh Jackson. He doesn't look so good. He gets Kevin Stefanski. He looks like a franchise quarterback. Exactly. And I agree with you. Josh Allen, if he doesn't end up with Brian Daboll, I don't know if he becomes what he is, because look at Josh Rosen. What if Josh Rosen and Josh Allen swap places? Then what happens? Is Josh Rosen in the AFC Championship game instead of Josh Allen?
Yeah, it's tremendous points you make, Josh, because for Josh Rosen, who out of the group was like last on my list to begin with anyway, he looked like a modern day Sam Bradford to me anyway. But your point is very well taken. The guy statuesque, gets hurt, complains a lot. Okay, that's great. And great. My next life, I hope I'm Sam Bradford, make that type of money for so little work. Tremendous. But for Rosen, goes to Arizona. Terrible situation. The next year, you draft Kyler Murray. He's boot-skied out. Now he's just floating around somewhere. He's going to be like a third, second straight backup guy. For his career, he's done. Josh Rosen's never going to be a legit starter in the National Football League. He's not. And a lot of that goes down to circumstance. So could it have been a swap? Sure. Now, do I think that Josh Allen is exponentially more talented and athletically gifted than Rosen? Yes. but it all depends on circumstance. Baker Mayfield this year was his 4th different offensive coordinator. What if Sam Darnold had gone to Buffalo? Right? How about that story? Sam Darnold, he was my favorite quarterback coming out of the draft. What if Sam Darnold had the stability instead of that nightmare with the Jets in Buffalo? So many what ifs.
And by the way, we might not see Sam Darnold with the Jets anyway, because what if they trade him and they draft Justin Fields and maybe he goes to Indianapolis or San Francisco or wherever? I don't think the Jets would trade him to the Patriots just because of the Jets. But still, I could totally see the Jets moving on from Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And maybe he becomes the next Jim Plunkett.
And you know what? This offseason for quarterback movement, I think is going to be the most fascinating, at least in this century, because we've never had so many vacancies and movement. Remember, Phil Rivers, staple. Drew Brees, staple. Gone. They're done. Carson Wentz, your guys. Yeah, where's Wentz going to go? What about Matthew Stafford? Matt Ryan could be on the move. You have so many ifs. Cam Newton's going to be out of New England. Or if they're smart about it, who are they getting? Jared Stidham, they have no confidence in, and I don't blame them. So you have so many different moving parts, plus the draft class is coming in. What about like Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville? You got Trevor Lawrence who's going to be drafted there. Do they keep Minshew as a backup? Does he go somewhere? There are so many moving parts and the amount of quarterbacks that are going to be drafted on top of all of it.
Stafford's my favorite one to watch because listen, I know people are like, oh, Dan Campbell, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if Dan Campbell said. Dan Campbell could have gone up there and dropped 20 F-bombs in that press conference for all I cared. The problem with the Detroit Lions is not the coach. It's the roster half the time. Let's be realistic. Those rosters have been abominations for the last 30 years. If Matthew Stafford had a competent roster, maybe he wins a couple playoff games. But all he had was Calvin Johnson and you and me in a bag of peanuts for half of his career. So, yeah. So to me, if you put Stafford on, let's say, the Patriots or trade him to San Francisco or, maybe there's a 3-way deal and Sam Darnold ends up in Detroit and Deshaun Watson ends up with the Jets and then Stafford ends up in Houston. Okay. Listen, anything's possible. It's the NFL. Yeah. The point is that I feel like if Stafford is on any other team that's not the Lions, he's winning playoff games.
Well, how about this scenario? How about you get Matthew Stafford a nice, solid offensive line so the guy doesn't get banged up every year? How about in Indianapolis? That O-line is legit. You put Matthew Stafford, and if he can stay healthy, and he's got the O-line to do it there, you put Matthew Stafford in that lineup, I would argue that the Indianapolis Colts, you can put them right up there with anybody else in the AFC. With those weapons, you got a young Pittman, Paris Campbell coming back, that defense, Jonathan Taylor who emerged. Indianapolis Colts, if I'm them, I'm making a call to Detroit, see what it takes. That's a spot for me.
I like the way you think. Andy McNamara joining us here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Follow on Twitter at AndyMC81, Sportsnet NFL and Fantasy Sports Analyst joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday instead of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Andy, let's hit on the Brady versus Rodgers game because to me, that game is less about the quarterbacks. I know the headline says it's about the quarterbacks, but that game to me is about one thing: whose defense shows up. Because we know that Brady, he can be taken advantage of. The Bucs found the way to slow down the Saints defense. Rodgers, when he played the Tampa Bay last time, that team got after him. They crushed him multiple times in the pocket. And to me, whoever's defense shows up, that's the team that wins.
I totally agree because we know both quarterbacks can sling it. We know both quarterbacks are clutch, right? So when I'm looking at this Tampa Bay defense, the pass defense was much better at the start of the year. They've really sort of trailed off. They're a sort of back quarter of success there versus the pass. But you're right. If you can keep Aaron Rodgers uncomfortable while trying to contain with your top 5 run defense with Aaron Jones, that if I'm the Packers, I think you got to start from the back out. I think you got to establish Aaron Jones, and then really that'll back everybody off, and you can establish the pass more that way. Now, for the Buccaneers, yeah, you're right. We know the pattern to stop Tom Brady. We've seen it. Question is, can you do it? Can you get to him? And what's scary about the Buccaneers and Tom Brady right now is Tom Brady, as we know, rhythm quarterback, right? What was the problem at the start of the year? Why he looked so inconsistent? Some interceptions. Evans, Godwin, injured, in and out of the lineup. You sprinkle in Antonio Brown, couldn't get into rhythm. Last quarter of the season, rhythm, comfortable. Now, there's no Antonio Brown this week, but you still got your boy Gronk. You still got Evans and Godwin who are nicked up. They're going to play. So this rhythm, if I'm the Packers, you got to find a way to make sure you get to Brady as quickly as possible, or at least get those hands up, because he's going to be getting rid of that ball real quick.
To me, I also want to know in this game, I want to know not just whose defense shows up, but I want to know how much of an impact does that Green Bay fan base have? Because I think we're noticing in the Buffalo game, the Kansas City and Green Bay game last weekend, even though there's only a handful of fans, there were like 6,000 in Green Bay, you could hear them. If I could hear them on my TV and I noticed the difference, I can only imagine what the players think. And, maybe that's the big difference. The first time they played, no fans. This time, there could be fans. And I'm curious to see, with both championship games, does the home crowd sway that much? Because let's be realistic. We've had an NFL season with almost no fans.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, it seems like even a small number of fans makes a difference, because when I'm watching on TV, it sounds different.
It does. Yeah, it does. And with the amount of fans, and now I don't know how much crowd noise they pump in as well in combined with that. I don't know the answer to that, but you're right. You can hear the difference between when earlier in the year, when it is just sort of pumped in noise, when there's real fans. You got Lambeau, like what a story. Like, where Lambeau Field, Brady versus Rodgers. Come on. That's incredible. Right. And then Mahomes versus Allen. So I wonder how that will play itself out. I just think, especially for that Rodgers Brady game, like Brady, he's done it all everywhere. I don't see that really having too much of an impact on him there. But Josh Allen in Kansas City, with all the talent, he's still learning. This is his first go around at an AFC Championship, first chance to get to the Super Bowl. And I think he can do it. But how that home crowd takes advantage there, maybe that's the one we should really be looking at.
All right, Andy, before we get to who you think is going to win the games, if someone was to build a DraftKings DFS lineup tomorrow, who are you sitting on? Who are you looking at? Because I feel like there's a good amount of options in both these games.
Well, there is. And the tricky thing now that we're down to 4 teams, there's not as many sleeper or value plays available to your DraftKings contest because there's just not that many teams left, right? So I actually built my perfect DFS lineup for DraftKings for Sunday on sportsnet.ca, and I got the link on Twitter at AndyMC81 as well. The guy I'm going with at quarterback, and you can go up and down. To me, all these quarterbacks very close as far as what you can do production-wise. Believe it or not, Tom Brady's a value play. Who would have thought we'd say that? $6,100. We're doing it in a $50K salary cap situation where you have to mix and match 3 wide receivers, 2 running back, a tight end, a flex quarterback, and a defense. So for Tom Brady at $6,100, and a guy who this season on the road has had his best fantasy performance, over 26 fantasy points a game, I'm really liking Tom Brady at quarterback. Running back, I'm going to do a little bit of a stack, and it's the running back position might be the trickiest one for these DraftKings lineups because let's face it, Bills don't run the ball, and the Chiefs are a committee because people are banged up. So really what you're stuck with is Aaron Jones and Tampa Bay. So I got both in there. I got Aaron Jones, and I'm going Leonard Fournette. Look at the production he's done. And even though Ronald Jones is probably going to be in there, it looks like at least right now, Fournette's up on him in the depth chart. And so that's really when I'm looking at that value-wise. I'm just looking at the value here. $5,300 for Leonard Fournette. So I got a starting guy who's been hot, who's really evolved himself as a pass catcher out of the backfield as well. That might have more of an impact with Antonio Brown out also. So I'm liking Fournette, Jones, and Brady when we look at the quarterbacks and running back situation.
So with all that being said, who do you think ends up in the Super Bowl?
Boy, you know what? And I just love that these games are both pretty much pick'ems. My gut, looking at it, feeling it, I think we see in the Super Bowl, and maybe it's just storyline wise, you see Buffalo Bills versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And guess what? The Bills, who avoided Tom Brady, you finally got him out of the division after all those years. You don't have to worry about Tom. He's standing in your way one more time. How about that? You got to vanquish Tom. And for Brady, he can put the screws to the Bills on his way, however many years he has left. I think that storyline would be incredible. Bills Mafia would be going bananas over that. So that's what I think. Bills, Buccaneers, and then who the heck knows if the Bills can finally quell the demon of Tom Brady.
So I'm actually going opposite. I think the home teams are going to have a huge deal with the fans there. And I think that Rodgers is on a mission. And I think Andy Reid is just such a great coach. I think he'll find a way to beat them. And no offense to Josh Allen, I think that the Bills are a year away, personally. I think that Josh Allen, this ascension has been so much that he's going to see something he hasn't seen all year. And his name is Tyrann Mathieu in the Chiefs secondary.
Yeah. And that very well could happen. This is a great thing about these games. You can make legitimate arguments for or against any sort of scenario and pairing in this. Sure. And let's face it, you can't lose in these Super Bowl matchups. Rodgers versus Mahomes, yes, please. Brady versus Mahomes, Rodgers versus Allen. The combos, the storylines that you cannot miss with this, and how a young, up-and-coming, rising team like the Bills, I agree in that if they lose, it's sort of that 1 year away. But they just might be in that case where they don't know what they don't know yet, and that might be okay. And especially with Mahomes. Now, he got cleared from concussion protocol, but not enough's being talked about that toe. And sometimes it sounds silly to fans, like, a toe, come on, you get paid how many? For a quarterback in a turf toe situation, he told the media his toe's fine. What does that mean? I'm taking his word for it? No. If I'm the Bills, I'm not blitzing him. I'm pressuring him. I'm getting those front four guys, and I'm trying to make him move. I'm trying to make him throw on the move. How's that toe when he's pivoting? How's it when he needs to plant? That's what I want to test if I'm the Buffalo Bills early. You drop the guys back, but you send those nice front four, keep Mahomes off balance, and let's see how that toe goes. Because if it's not good, that's where the Buffalo Bills could make a real impact.
Before I let you go, I got to ask you your thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Siriani coming to Philadelphia.
This is what I've learned. Now, at first, I heard the name, and I was like, it didn't well. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. There is so much made about you bring in an offensive or defensive mind, and are they going to call plays or call the D or call the off, whatever. It's about leading the team. It's about the whole package. And why I'm not discouraged about this signing is because when Kevin Stefanski of the Browns was hired a year ago, people were like, huh? That guy who filled in for Kubiak in Minnesota? Okay. Dude just won Coach of the Year. It's so much more about whether it's one side of the ball. You got to manage everything. And that's why when people say, bring Coach X in, this offensive coordinator to run it, that's one part of it. And we've seen how many coaches just implode because they try to take on too much. So this is a case really where I believe and we're only going to find out on the job, where how does he command a room? Is he a leader of men? How does he distribute his staff? How does he handle things? Stefanski is a great delegator, we have found out, and a true collaborator. So is that the case that's going to be in Philadelphia? Or is it somebody like we've seen so many times where try to take on everything and it gets to be too much? So that's the big question. So if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm not being discouraged that I didn't necessarily get the big name guy who's out there. Because look, Mike McCarthy was the biggest name guy last year, and that didn't go so good in Dallas.
No, it didn't go so well. And let's not forget about the fact that, Andy Reid, nobody knew who he was. Doug Peterson, nobody wanted him. So Philadelphia has a history of grabbing guys that nobody cares about.
That's right.
Whereas the Browns finally did that. They always kept grabbing the hot name, right? It was always the sexy name. What was it? Butch Davis from Miami back in the day, right?
Hugh Jackson was the hottest guy that year.
Oh, sure. Pat Shurmur. Remember Pat Shurmur?
Oh, I remember Pat Shurmur. Dude, when he went to the Giants fans, I'm like, you poor fools. Right. Pat Shurmur is the least inspirational man as a head coach ever. There's more personality at the underside of my foot than Pat Shurmur. Good Lord. You know what? This is a true story in Cleveland. He would have his wife sit at the press conferences and coach him about how to have more personality, because he was just so no inspiration. Is he a great offensive coordinator? Yes. He's a perfect example of sometimes you just get guys who are better as coordinators. Nothing wrong with that. Pat Shurmur's a terrible coach.
It also includes Dennis Allen, by the way.
Yeah, right. There's so many different scenarios. So how this works out in Philadelphia, I would just say, look, hope that he's a collaborator and the ego doesn't get too much.
He's Andy McNamara. You can follow him on Twitter at AndyMC81 for all your fantasy sports and NFL analysis. He joins us here on the Boardwalk kind of hotline, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Up there in Toronto, I feel like you guys are going to be talking about this hockey trade, that just went down. Patrick Laine traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets with Jake Roslovic for Pierre-Luc Dubois.
French accent, Josh. I like it. Look at this guy. Huh?
I only can do the accent. I don't know a lick of French, though.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know any of it. Yeah. That trade, I looked at my phone like, whoa. We knew something was coming out of Columbus.
Well, it was so weird, though, because Laine, remember, he sat out the other night and nobody would tell us why.
Yep. That's going to be a huge chance for both those guys to sort of reboot. They're still so young to reboot themselves. The talent, the ceiling on both of those players is exponential. It's huge.
Yeah, I got suckered into playing fantasy hockey, so I'm paying attention to the NHL even more than ever.
There you go.
So I've gone way over the deep end. I'm earning my nickname, the Sports Geek. I'm playing fantasy sports in every sport now. I've lost my doggone mind, Andy.
Oh, yeah, you got to do it. You know what? Hey, for tonight's UFC, you can do DraftKings MMA lineup. I got a couple of my lineups in there for UFC tonight. So yeah, you can jump in there too.
Yeah, I saw that. I disagree with you about the Chandler Hooker fight.
Yeah.
I still think Chandler's going to win.
I think, you know what? When I was really impressed by Hooker, that fight stands out to me as one where, again, sort of like those AFC, NFC championship matches, you can really make an argument for both. I think in the main event, I think Poirier is winning that one. I do. I think McGregor's there for the payday or for the hype, not even for the pay. Why is the guy even fighting? How much money do you have, man? Just chill. Sell your whiskey.
The working theory is that McGregor's mind is different now that he has kids, supposedly. That he's got this new invigorated, he wants to show his son that he's the baddest man on the planet, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I just think it's going to be a great fight either way.
I hope so.
The other fight, I think it's going to be really good. I'll give this tip away. I don't think Brad Tavares wins tonight.
Ooh.
I think Antonio Carlos beats him because people forget Tavares is way past. That dude's been fighting in the UFC since 2007. That guy's been around a really long time. So he may be 33, but he's not 33 in terms of a normal human being.
Right.
He's 33 in terms of I got mileage on my body. And I think Antonio Carlos, he might catch him. He might submit him tonight.
All right. I'm gonna have to put a couple bucks on that one, Josh. That's a good little tip.
Yeah, I think it's plus. I think he's plus 118 to win. I think it's plus 300 to win by submission.
Okay. I think you talked me into that one, man. I like it.
Well, I'm here to help.
Absolutely. It's gonna be a fun one tonight, and then we got all the football tomorrow. What a great weekend for sports. I can't wait.
It's a beautiful weekend. He's Andy McNamara. Follow on Twitter, AndyMC81. Appreciate you jumping on the live stream, and always good chatting with you, my friend.
Absolutely. Anytime, my man. Talk to you soon.
Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN, of course, being brought to you by my friends over at weightliftinghq.com. Use code RADIO10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Benches, squat racks, kettlebells, dumbbells, cardio and fitness machines, resistance bands, and more. Everything you need to work out from home, you can get it with weightliftinghq.com. Again, Radio 10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. You can work out from home, whether you're someone who goes to the gym or someone who's just trying to, supplement your workout routine. You can do it all with weightliftinghq.com. Code Radio10 for 10% off your entire order at weightliftinghq.com. We'll wrap up the first hour. Coming up on the other side, we'll get back to your texts at 609-403-0973, plus your comments on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. 97.3 ESPN on the social media platforms. I'm Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Tomorrow, it's the championship round of the NFL playoffs as we bring you a special doubleheader. First, Tom Brady duels Aaron Rodgers as the Bucs take on the Packers in the NFC title game. Then it's the top two seeds in the AFC when the Kansas City Chiefs host the Buffalo Bills. Hear the playoff picture unfold right here.
Listen to the championship round of the NFL playoffs tomorrow, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM. Coverage begins at 2 p.m.
Offer excludes new Corvettes and new Cadillacs. Kerbeck and Atlantic City model year closeout. All remaining 2020 models must go at Kerbeck Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac of Atlantic City. 2020 Chevrolet Equinoxes. Over $7,000 off original MSRP. Over 30 to choose. All Equinox models in stock. Premiers, LS, and LT. As low as 0% up to 72 months. 2020 Chevrolet Equinoxes. Over $7,000 off original MSRP. Over 30 to choose. All Equinox models. Premiers, LS, and LT. As low as 0% up to 72 months. Save on any new Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, or Pre-owned. We are Kerbeck Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac of Atlantic City, Albany Avenue. Kerbeck of Atlantic City model year closeout. Click KerbeckAtlanticCity.com. Find new roads. Call Kerbeck for details. 1-866-518-0086.
What are your 2021 goals? To get rid of those wrinkles, flatten your tummy, or enhance your breasts? If your 2021 goals focus on refreshing your face and body, Dr. Lyle M. Back can help. Dr. Back offers Botox and fillers, tummy tuck and liposuction, breast augmentation, and so much more. Dr. Back can even help men who have gynecomastia, aka man boobs. Call Dr. Lyle M. Back to accomplish those 2021 goals. Call 856-MAKEOVER or visit ilovelyleback.com.
Nya nya nya. Ba. Ba. Babue. Zimbabwe. The broken Bunsen burner burns so bright. Southeast Asian Peninsula.
Hey, Jamie? Yes. I think the only line we need from you today is drivers who switch to progressive could save big.
Cool. I just got to finish my warm-ups. Foul, throw in the towel. History.
Switch to Progressive today.
Santa ski slalom in a salmon skin suit.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
The COVID-19 vaccine distribution has started, which is why I'm hopeful that a stronger, healthier future is in sight. But we're not there yet. We have to stop the virus from spreading. Take it from me, Dr. Kemi Ali from Henry J. Austin Health Center. Even though it's 2021, my fellow doctors, nurses, EMTs, and all healthcare workers around New Jersey are still fighting this virus on the front lines day and night. And we need you to keep fighting with us. Even though some people have been vaccinated, we all need to keep wearing face masks. Stay safe by staying socially distanced, and go get tested even if you don't have symptoms. Because we all have a role to play in stopping the spread of this virus. So let's do it for each other, New Jersey. Let's do it for us all. Please visit covid19.nj.gov for more information.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Wrapping up the first hour of the show, I'll get to all my UFC picks in the next hour for 2:57 tonight. Josh Hennig here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Matt Blatt Kia in the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. They want to get you approved today. That's Matt Blatt Kia on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Matt Blatt Kia Studios. You can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We'll also get to your text throughout the show at 609-403-0970. A couple of messages that came in on Facebook. Joey D. in Ventnor says, do you think Wade Phillips is outdated? I love that Joey D asked this question. So kudos to you, Joey D, for asking a great question, because for the Eagles, Wade Phillips is very interesting for a specific reason. Wade Phillips historically ran 3-4 defenses, right? But if you watch what they did in Los Angeles, the team that got to the Super Bowl in 2018, Aaron Donald wasn't a nose tackle. Like usually in the 3-4 defense, you have the nose tackle, and then you have the 2 DNs, right? They're playing a different technique than a 4-3 and a wide 9. But Wade Phillips didn't run a pure 3-4. He ran a hybrid of a 3-4. So Mark Barron, he's a safety, but it was kind of a linebacker. They did a little bit of both. Could they do that with Kavon Wallace here, where it looks like a 3-4, but the safety is a box safety, right? You look at what they did with Aaron Donald. He wasn't lined up always over the center. They put him in the gaps sometimes. They moved the linemen around with him and Brockers and Fowler. So it wasn't a pure one style of defense. It was they moved guys around. So I think there's a possibility that Wade Phillips might not be as outdated as we might think. I think if he can come in here and say, look, I'm willing to run a defense that is still a 4-man front, but I'm going to get very interesting with the back end. Because remember, that Seahawks defense, it's not really a 3-4. It's not really a 4-3. It's kind of a combination of both. So when you think about it, if Pete Carroll can adapt, if Wade Phillips can adapt a little bit, maybe he's not as outdated as we may think. But it'll be an interesting thing to watch. Whoever comes in here, do they change the defense totally? Do they keep it similar? I don't know. Maybe one of the reasons why Josh McDaniels wasn't going to get the job is because maybe McDaniels didn't want to bring Gerard Mayo with him. How about that theory? I don't have any evidence for that theory. I was just spitballing it out there. Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Still to come, we have Bryan Oringher, former NBA scout, to get more into Ben Simmons. He got some very strong opinions on Ben Simmons and people's critique of him on social media and the other parts of the media out there. We'll talk more about the Eagles and the NFL on the other side, 609-403-0973. And, of course, we'll get in the UFC 257 as well in the next hour. Josh Hennig hanging out with you until 2 o'clock on 97.3 ESPN.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Angelic Health Telehealth.
Stress takes its toll on us both physically and mentally, so it stands to reason that stress relief should be part of our routine, just like exercise. In fact, some people believe meditation is the equivalent of working out for our mind. Meditation might conjure an image of a yogi sitting cross-legged for hours at the top of a mountain, but it can actually be done almost anywhere, even if it's just for a few minutes, and it can have amazing benefits. When you're meditating and deep breathing, you focus your attention and eliminate the stream of jumbled thoughts that may be crowding your mind and causing stress. Meditation can give you a sense of calm, peace, and balance that benefits your entire body. So take a deep breath and feel the stress melt away. If you want to try meditation, we have some easy ways to get started on our website. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Brought to you by Angelic Telehealth. They're by your side. Visit angelic.health today.
Stop the countdown. It's not a new year we're celebrating. It's an all-new Matt Blatt Nissan. Yes, you heard right. Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot, and online at mattblattnissan.com. Help us celebrate when you get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan with the Matt Blatt Nissan Fast Track Checkout. Available online at mattblattnissan.com. Our non-touch delivery and electronic paperwork ensures your safety comes first. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan wants your trade. Bring it in today and help us celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online. We want to help with your credit approval. And don't forget, with Matt Blatt, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan online at mattblattnissan.com. Credit may affect terms. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Get all the details at mattblattnissan.com. Let's get it on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dealing with battery problems? We can help you out and get you ready for the colder weather ahead. Let's start with a free battery test. If you just need a free charge, we can help with that too. And if it's time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that fit your needs, starting at just $79.99. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination. Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2019.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so they're best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 5510 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 5510. Enjoy.
Kendall Auto Plaza offers the area's best car and truck buying experience with 60 years of customer satisfaction and community service. What's on their 100-acre lot? A huge inventory of Ford, Lincoln, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, and over 100 quality and certified pre-owned vehicles. Whether you use your car, truck, or SUV for work or play, discover why Kendall customers are so loyal. Kendall Auto Plaza, exit 10 of the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard, or shop from home at KendallAutoplaza.com.
Home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers. WENJ, WENJHT, Millville, Atlantic City, 97.3 ESPN. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can watch the show behind the scenes here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Still to come on the show, we have Bryan Oringher joining us, former NBA scout, coming up at 1:30. We have more into Sixers, the NBA, and more. We'll get to your text messages and your social media messages. You can comment on social media as well to get it on the show here on 97.3 ESPN. Just like Jeff Bone chiming in about rest in peace, Larry King. It's been a rough 24 hours, I would say, for people passing away. Hank Aaron passed away yesterday. Larry King today. It hasn't been the best of times, that's for sure. So you can comment like Jeff did on YouTube, or you can comment on Facebook like Joey D did right here, asking about Wade Phillips in the last hour for the Eagles coaching staff. Also, Joe did in the last hour as well on Facebook. You also could do it on Twitter. Again, at 973 ESPN on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You also could text into the show at 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973 to get on the conversation. Of course, busy weekend here on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up at 3:45 today, coverage of Louisville versus Duke at 3:45. And then at 8 o'clock tonight, Sixers versus Pistons here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And then also tomorrow, Billy Schweim in the locker room from 10 a.m. to noon. And then at 2 p.m. coverage of the NFL Championship Sunday, all right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Your home for Sixers basketball, Flyers hockey, Eagles football, the NFL playoffs, and March Madness. We've got all the bases covered right here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, still to come, as I mentioned, we'll get into more Sixers and the NBA. But I first want to run it back with the football conversation because Andy McNamara, who joined us, and I always love him joining the show, had a very interesting comment earlier about the Eagles hiring of Nick Siriani. And he talked about the fact that Nick Siriani is a guy who he wasn't the biggest name. And he said, listen, in Cleveland, they didn't hire the biggest name. They didn't hire the big shot, big time guy, right? And when you think about it, he's right, though. Like, when you really think about it, when you dig deep into the Eagles hiring a Siriani, he may not be the quote-unquote sexy pick. He may not be the most attractive pick. And maybe his staff isn't the most amazing, attractive, incredible. But you know what he's going to bring in? He's bringing in NFL experience. He's bringing in experience coaching quarterbacks, wide receivers, running the offensive staff in Indianapolis. That's really what the offensive coordinator's job in Indianapolis. People are like, well, he didn't call plays, but he ran the staff. And that's a huge part of all of this with the Eagles. Jeffrey Lurie said himself, I want a coach who coaches coaches. So if that's the case, you can, just kind of extend. Well, if you hired a guy who coaches in Indianapolis, then guess what? That's what you're going to have in Philadelphia. If you want someone who coaches, maybe you don't need him to call the plays because maybe he'll hire people who will call the plays here in Philadelphia. I'm just saying, maybe part of the rub with all of this has nothing to do with anything except for the fact that people didn't know who he was. Nobody knew who Andy Reid was. Nobody wanted Doug Peterson. Everybody wanted Chip Kelly. Look how that worked out. Again, you can text in 609-403-0973. You can also jump in on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Throw your comments in as well on the social media platforms watching the show here on 97.3 ESPN. I want to run back to what Joey D said earlier about the offensive coordinator situation, because up Joey D's comment from Facebook, he said, do you think Wade Phillips is outdated? I think that the key for the Eagles is to get a defensive coordinator who has play calling experience. I would be not thrilled about them hiring anybody who doesn't have some sort of experience calling plays on defense. To me, that's a much bigger deal than if Wade Phillips is outdated or not, because when you bring in a young offensive coach, you want to make sure that the guy is not worrying about certain things. And I think that's a great point by Joey D to ask that question, because maybe Wade Phillips is outdated. Maybe Wade Phillips, a part of him, he isn't the best candidate for the job, but at least he should be considered for it. You look at, like I said, what Urban Meyer's doing in Jacksonville. He is bringing in an offensive coordinator to run the offense, a defensive coordinator to run the defense. So if that's what he's doing in Jacksonville, and he has no NFL experience, Urban Meyer's coming to the NFL and saying, I'm going to be the CEO of the coaching staff in Jacksonville. I think Siriani could do the same thing here in Philadelphia. That's why I said, guys like Todd Haley, Anthony Lynn, Romeo Crennel, these are all guys he's worked with before. These are all guys who he's worked with, and he can say, look, you gave me a job, you gave me a shot, now I'm going to bring you to help me here in Philadelphia, and I might help those guys' careers. Don't forget, Todd Haley got a raw deal over there in Cleveland. Todd Haley basically was painted as like the villain of Hard Knocks. Oh, Todd Haley, he's being mean and trying to steal Hugh Jackson's job, right? That's been the perception. You know what Todd Haley's most recent job since being a coach on the Cleveland Browns coaching staff? This year, he was the offensive coordinator for Riverview High School in Sarasota, Florida. So that documentary, that Hard Knocks, ruined him so much that he's basically had trouble getting a job. That's ridiculous to me. I mean, the dude has been coaching in the NFL for a long, long time. Think about Todd Haley's coaching career. Wide receiver coach with the Jets. Wide receiver coach with the Bears. Wide receiver coach with the Cowboys. Offensive coordinator with the Arizona Cardinals. Head coach with the Chiefs. Offensive coordinator with the Steelers. Offensive coordinator with the Browns. And now he's out of the NFL because we feel bad for Hugh Jackson because they got confrontational? Well, guess what? Hugh Jackson ended up being a huge bust in Cleveland. They had to fire him too. The dude had to coach high school this year because the NFL wasn't interested in him. He had the urge to coach. If I'm Nick Sirianni, my first call is to Todd Haley. I say, Todd, I need a wide receivers coach. Would you be interested? Now, if Todd says I will only be offensive coordinator, then maybe Sirianni needs to, run it back with him a little bit, have more of a conversation. But if Todd's willing to come on this staff either as an OC or a wide receiver coach, I'm more than interested, because you go back to Todd Haley's coaching career. Todd Haley has had some interesting success in the NFL. When he's been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, here are the rankings as either a head coach or offensive coordinator. Here are his rankings with offenses in terms of points scored. In Pittsburgh, they were top 10 5 of the 6 years in Pittsburgh. 5 out of 6 years. And the one year that they weren't top 10, that was a Steelers team that went 8-8 in 2013. And that was a year Roethlisberger had a good year, but not a great year because they had some injuries on the offensive line. So he showed you in Pittsburgh, he can coach. How about Arizona? Now, you may or may not remember, but when he was in Arizona, that was the team that lost in the Super Bowl. Yeah, Todd Haley was the offensive coordinator. Those 2 years he was the OC, they were 4th in the NFL, and the year before they were 12th. And part of the reason why they were 12th the year before was because of the fact that that was the year that, remember, Kurt Warner didn't start the year. Remember, he had the whole fiasco with Matt Leinart and all that garbage. Then Kurt Warner came in after they finally benched Leinart for being an abomination for an NFL quarterback. And then Kurt Warner had 27 touchdowns in just 11 games that year. Yeah, that's Todd Haley. That's offensive coordinator Todd Haley. I know he wasn't the most gracious head coach. I know people were like, man, this guy, he's confrontational. He's not the most friendly guy in the world. But he went 10-6 one of those years, and he went 10-6 with Matt Castle. Matt Castle. And that offense, they were scoring 23 points per game with Matt Castle. Their number one running back was some guy named Jamal Charles. You might have heard of him. So I would love to see Todd Haley on this staff. I think Todd Haley could, first of all, rehabilitate his entire reputation by willing to come in here as an OC or a wide receiver coach. And just to come in here and be like, hey, man, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I've been around a lot of coaches in my time. By the way, Joey D, you mentioned Wade Phillips. Todd Haley was in Dallas before Wade Phillips under Bill Parcells. So he's got that Bill Parcells stamp on him. I mean, that staff was ridiculous down in Dallas. That final year under Bill Parcells, Todd Bowles was on that staff. Todd Haley was on that staff. Anthony Lynn was on that staff. Tony Sperano, remember him? Even Freddie Kitchens had a job on that staff. Goodness gracious. Think about it. You could have a little reunion between Todd Haley and Anthony Lynn. Bring Lynn in too. Give him a job. Give them both a job. Why not? Anthony Lynn has a history as a running back coach. Todd Haley has a history as a wide receiver coach. Make one of them offensive coordinator and the other one the position coach. Why not? See if they're willing to do it. I think the more jam-packed Siriani can make this staff, the better. At least that's how I feel about it. That's how I'm looking at this situation with Todd Haley. I think that whether it's Wade Phillips as D coordinator, whether it's any of these guys, I think anyone that this guy has had experience with Siriani could be a great option moving forward. And I know some people, they may feel a certain way about some of the names that are coming out. Like, for example, the guy from the Chargers, right? The offense coordinator, which is so weird because when Brandon Staley was hired by the Chargers, they didn't even mention this guy. This guy's been around the Chargers. He's a Chargers lifer. Shane Steichen. Maybe you hire Shane Steichen to be your offensive coordinator. He's had some good years out there in the Chargers. He was the guy that basically moved up the charts when Sirianni got jobs. Steichen was the quarterback's coach for 3 years with the Chargers before becoming the offensive coordinator in 2019 and full-time in 2020. So, listen, maybe there's something to be said for the fact that, maybe you call Steichen and be like, I've worked with Steichen before. I'm going to give him a job. I think any of these guys would be an option. I think the only guy that he's worked with that I wouldn't be thrilled about if they hire would be Mike McCoy. I think that's really the only guy that I look at. I'm like, I wouldn't be crazy about that guy. Otherwise, I like any of the other options that they could hire. Because my only problem with Mike McCoy is he doesn't have a long history of excellence, shall we call it, as a coordinator. You look at his offensive coordinator history, he basically had one great year as an OC. One. That was 2012 with the Broncos. And that was it. That was his one really, really great year. And he had Peyton Manning. I'm supposed to believe that McCoy was it's kind of like the old Adam Gase thing. Adam Gase got an NFL head coaching job because he happened to be around Peyton Manning. The same thing with Mike McCoy. So I don't know if he would be a great offensive coordinator, but Mike McCoy, if you want to call him and be like, hey, Mike, you have a history as a quarterback's coach. I would at least listen to that. I would at least consider that option, because if you look at the years he was a quarterback coach, it was in Carolina. And if you go back, do you know who his quarterback was in Carolina? Oh, that's right. You remember Jake Delhomme and the Panthers that went to a Super Bowl? You should remember because they beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. That was Mike McCoy's quarterback situation. Yeah, he coached Jake Delhomme up. So maybe you call Mike McCoy and be like, you can be the quarterback coach. Todd Haley's the offensive coordinator. I'm willing to see him build out a staff. Maybe Stryken ends up being the coordinator. I don't know. We'll have to see what they do, but I think there's a lot of names out there that could be connected to this job, and I'm for all of them. I'm for any of these guys getting this job. Again, the text board is open at 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. You also can comment if you follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. You can watch the show behind the scenes. Josh Hennig here. Hello, everybody. Live here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, I'll be giving you my FanDuel Sportsbook picks at the end of the show. I got a lot of UFC 257 picks for tonight, and I'll give you my picks for NFL Championship weekend a little bit later in the show. I want to transition, though, to NBA because we're going to have Bryan Oringher coming up at 1:30. And Bryan Oringher, a former NBA scout, he's a guy who's been around the NBA, and I'm excited to have him come on because he's been very opinionated about Ben Simmons and the Sixers situation. He's had a lot of strong opinions about that. And when I think about the Sixers situation, I'm watching the game last night, and Joel Embiid did it again. Joel Embiid went out there and had another great game for the Sixers. The fourth time this month, he has had at least 30 points and 8 rebounds in a game. The 76ers on the year are 11-5. But in 3 games that Joel Embiid has missed, they're 0-3. So technically they're 11-2 with him in the lineup. That's a big deal. Joel Embiid is showing up as a superstar in this league. And for as frustrated as people get with Ben Simmons, we're going to get into all that coming up in just a bit with Bryan Oringher. I don't think we spent enough time talking about the other guys on this team. For as frustrated as everyone gets with Embiid, you know who's showing up this year, game in and game out? It is Embiid. Joel Embiid this year is having a phenomenal season. To me, he's an MVP candidate. Not just because of the win-loss record, but because he's a big man who's dominating. He's motivated. He looks engaged. He looks completely and utterly focused. And the best part about Embiid is, think about this stat. Joel Embiid so far in 13 games is averaging the fewest personal fouls per game of his career. His career average before this year was around 3.5 fouls a game. He's averaging under 2.5 right now at 2.3. That means he's more disciplined as a defender. That's huge. You look at what Joel Embiid is doing scoring-wise, 27.3 points per game. But how about the field goal percentage? Career high 55.9. The efficiency is off the charts. He's playing incredible. And how about another guy on this team who's playing well this year? Now, this one, I know some people are not going to be thrilled about when I bring this guy's name up. Can we talk about Tobias Harris? I had to hear all off season long, Tobias Harris is overpaid. Tobias Harris this, Tobias Harris that. Tobias Harris is shooting 44% from three with the Sixers this year, 52% from the field, 89% from the foul line. The guy is basically money from the foul line. So he is way more efficient thanks to Doc Rivers being here. He's way more decisive. And he's playing quality defense. He is averaging a career high over 1 steal a game, 1.1. He's almost averaging a block per game too. So he's upped his defense. He's become way more efficient as a shooter. And you look at what he's done in the last few games. Some of those games Simmons played, some of them he missed because of the COVID protocols. But in the games he has played, he has 2 straight games now over 20 points. On the season, look at all the games that he has over 20 points. The majority of them. In January alone, he has 5 games over 20 points. In January alone, his 3-point shooting percentage is 40% or better in 6 of those games. So for everybody who said Tobias Harris is overpaid, he's not good. I asked Kevin McCormick this last night on game night. Kevin McCormick was trying to say that, maybe Ben Simmons is closer to Draymond Green. So I asked him, well, if Joel Embiid then is Seth Curry, the MVP candidate, can Tobias Harris be like Klay Thompson? And he said yes. Maybe Tobias is as good a defender as Klay Thompson, but he's certainly showing you that he can be an efficient scorer. If you're shooting over 50% from 3 in multiple games, if you're showing me, over 40% in multiple games, you're showing me you can get 20 points in multiple games. Did he have a rough start to the year? Yes, but he has rebounded as strong as Tobias Harris. And to me, the fact that Harris and Embiid are playing so well, I don't want to say it belittles Ben Simmons, but it takes pressure off of needing Ben Simmons to go out there and be this dominant force of nature. Here are the 76ers top scorers this year. Embiid with 27 points a game. Tobias Harris just under 20 points at 19.6. Seth Curry came back last night at 16.8. Shake Milton, 6th man of the year candidate off the bench, 16 points per game off the bench. And then Ben Simmons is at 12.4. I would argue that having Embiid, Tobias, Seth, and Shake scoring all those points is a much more of a positive than it is a negative that Simmons isn't scoring more. We all would like to see Ben be more assertive and more decisive at times. But I think we have spent so much time complaining or arguing about Ben Simmons that we haven't spent enough time appreciating what we're getting from the other players. Seth Curry has been a revelation, has he not? People didn't know what to expect of this guy coming in here. When people told you this guy is starting, it was, should that guy be starting? Like, who the heck is he? And now you look at him, and he's going out there and having phenomenal game after game after game. I think that when you have a great 3-point shooter like Seth Curry is, right? When you have these guys who can go out there and be productive like they are, I think it's a big deal. I think that it's completely and utterly underrated how good this team has been thanks to the arrival of Seth Curry. Seth Curry this year is not just starting games and playing well. Seth Curry is going out there and having a career year. He's shooting 59% from 3. Who cares if Ben Simmons shoots a 3 when Seth is shooting 59%? Feeding the ball. He's only averaging 5 attempts a game. Make it 6, make it 7. I never want to see Ben shoot a 3 if I got Seth Curry shooting that high of a percentage from 3. Seth also shooting 100% for the foul. He hasn't missed a foul shot this year. 60% from the field. 16 points a game. So when you look at Ben Simmons, you got to put some context in it, because for every complaint you might have about Ben Simmons, realize how well the rest of the team is playing. That's a huge deal to me. It's a huge, huge deal how well the rest of the team is playing. And Ben Simmons is a part of it. In the last 4 games, he's averaging just over 10 assists a game at 10.4. So, listen, you may want Ben to score more points, but if he scores more points, takes shots out of the hands of Tobias, Embiid, Shake, and Seth Curry, and those 4 guys are shooting at such a high efficiency rate, I don't really want Ben Simmons scoring that much. We'll get more into Ben Simmons coming up with Bryan Oringher, former NBA scout, coming up next here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, you can watch the show live here in the Matt Blatt Kia studios on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can drop a comment on there while you're watching the show. Also, you can text in at 609-403-0973 on the text board here on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea City.
Tomorrow, it's the championship round of the NFL playoffs as we bring you a special doubleheader. First, Tom Brady duels Aaron Rodgers as the Bucs take on the Packers in the NFC title game. Then it's the top 2 seeds in the AFC when the Kansas City Chiefs host the Buffalo Bills. Hear the playoff picture unfold right here.
Listen to the championship round of the NFL playoffs tomorrow, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM. Coverage begins at 2 p.m.
Start the new year in a new Kia at Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River or Egg Harbor Township today. The new year is an opportunity to set new goals and start fresh. And at Matt Blatt Kia, our goal is to get you out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve this new year. 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on new 2021 Kia Sportage LX SUVs in stock. Plus, Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Plus, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 per 1,000 borrowed. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 2/4/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
What are your 2021 goals? To get rid of those wrinkles, flatten your tummy, or enhance your breasts? If your 2021 goals focus on refreshing your face and body, Dr. Lyle M. Back can help. Dr. Back offers Botox and fillers, tummy tuck and liposuction, breast augmentation, and so much more. Dr. Back can even help men who have gynecomastia, aka man boobs. Call Dr. Lyle M. Back to accomplish those 2021 goals. Call 856-MAKEOVER or visit ilovelylback.com.
The Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Squares Sweepstakes is back. It's the largest official game of Super Bowl Squares ever, with millions of dollars in prizes, and best of all, it's free to enter. Every score change, someone wins $50,000. Just enter for free at rocketmortgagesquares.com, and it could be you. Touchdowns, field goals, safeties, extra points. Every single score change will draw one lucky winner from the square to win $50,000. Plus, 2 grand prize winners will win $500,000 they could use toward their dream home. One way to enter, 2 ways to win. See rules and enter for free at rocketmortgagesquares.com. Then tune into the Super Bowl on February 7th to see if you bring home some dough. Rocket Mortgage, official mortgage sponsor of Super Bowl 55.
No purchase necessary. Legal residents of the 50 U.S. and D.C. of age of majority. Ends 2/4/2021, 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. The NFL entities as defined in the official rules have not offered or sponsored this promotion in any way.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 5510 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 5510. Enjoy.
Do you crave the thrill of success and all the opportunities that come with it? Are you an ambitious professional who seeks an exciting career opportunity with unlimited earning potential? Are your achievements most rewarding when they also benefit others?
If so, then you may have what it takes to join South Jersey's leading radio and online marketing sales team at Town Square Media. Discover your passion for advertising sales and earn a guaranteed salary while you learn. Leverage newfound skills in integrated marketing campaign design and help local businesses recover and grow in the coming year.
With commission gains and hands-on training, your income grows right alongside your skill set, so you'll never be making less than what you're worth.
Call Michael Rubel, Market President, at 609-910-5249 to schedule an interview. Kick off a challenging but fulfilling career in advertising sales with Town Square Media, Atlantic City. Positions are competitive and won't be available long. Call 609-910-5249. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Kendall Auto Plaza offers the area's best car and truck buying experience with 60 years of customer satisfaction and community service. What's on their 100-acre lot? A huge inventory of Ford, Lincoln, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, and over 100 quality and certified pre-owned vehicles. Whether you use your car, truck, or SUV for work or play, discover why Kendall customers are so loyal. Kendall Auto Plaza, exit 10 of the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard, or shop from home at KendallAutoplaza.com.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN, also on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. As promised, joining us right now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline to get more into the Sixers, Ben Simmons, and more NBA. He is Bryan Oringher. You can follow him on Twitter at Scout with Bryan. Also, you want to get all the insights he has on his Patreon channel, Scout with Bryan, because listen, for the $5 that you would spend on the Patreon, you're not just getting a ton of great information about Bryan Oringher. You know what you're also getting? You're also getting his picks every night. And I'm telling you right now, if you take his picks every night that he does on his Patreon, it's going to pay for the Patreon subscription. So you're getting great information and you're going to make some money and it's going to pay for itself. So he joins us right now on 97.3 ESPN. Bryan, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm great, Josh. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you jumping on because I'm losing my mind with some of this Ben Simmons stuff. And I think the title of your latest podcast, Scout with Bryan Pod, when you said, the Ben Simmons BS, you're getting to the point where you're, just dropping curse words in the middle of the podcast because you're so frustrated. And I think the biggest thing about the Ben Simmons thing that frustrates me is that I think people have this attitude that just because he was the first overall pick, he's supposed to fit into this little box that they have created that they want him to be. Because at the end of the day, Bryan, it's not that he's not a good basketball player. He's a really, really good basketball player, but because he doesn't fit into this little mold that people want and these expectations that people put on him, that makes him all of a sudden not good.
He's a great basketball player. He's not just a really good basketball player. He's a great basketball player who can't do one thing, and that one thing is shooting the ball, which, yes, obviously is pretty important. But, you look at the other guys in that draft. I mean, Brandon Ingram, Buddy Hield. I mean, how much winning have they done in the playoffs? Those guys obviously much better shooters, much better, at making shots. But people forget there are a million things that go into winning basketball games. And Ben does so many of those things at an incredibly high level, better than those guys, and we drool over these guys like Buddy Hield that, their teams are giving up 130 points every night. And we don't appreciate that Ben Simmons might be the best defensive player in the league for a team that's the number one seed in the East. I mean, yeah, it's mind-boggling. It doesn't make any sense.
Also, the other thing, Bryan, is I talked about this before you came on. You look at the other guys on his team. Tobias Harris is having a career year efficiency-wise. Embiid is having a career year shooting efficiency-wise. Seth Curry is shooting the lights out. Shake Milton is basically a Sixth Man of the Year candidate. So to me, why do I want to take the scoring opportunities out of those guys' hands and tell Ben to go score? Like, no, Ben, keep passing the ball because all those guys are making so many shots.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's like, Giannis, okay, Giannis is gotten to the point where he can make a three every once in a while, shoots 31% from there. But does anyone give a crap when Giannis shoots threes? Nobody cares. The other team is doing jumping jacks when he shoots the ball. When I'm scouting a team, if I could dare him to take 9 threes a game like he was in the playoffs, that lost them the series against Miami. If you're not good at it, don't do it. Quite frankly, I don't understand why we applaud, like I said, guys like Giannis that just are doing it, but it's not making any impact on the game because they don't make them. Versus Ben, who knows himself, knows he's not good at it, obviously, but focuses all his efforts on playing defense, creating shots for those other guys whose efficiencies are exploding, like you said, and averaging 8 assists every single game of his career, basically, because he's a super smart basketball player who knows how to contribute to winning. And I think he's doing a great job of that, obviously, this season. And it's just a shame that one thing that he can't do, obviously, just takes up so much headspace for people that they're unable to appreciate, the other 99 things he does really, really well.
Bryan Oringher joining us here on the Boardwalk on the Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Go follow him on Twitter at Scout with Bryan. It's Bryan with a Y. Also, you want to get on his Patreon so you get all of the video breakdowns and insights. I mean, Bryan, what you had before the NBA draft was some of the best breakdowns I've ever seen. If people want to see those, they need to get on your Patreon because people will understand a lot better about the guys who are playing this year as rookies because of patreon.com/Scott with Bryan joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Now, I will tell you, Bryan, the one thing that frustrates me about Ben Simmons at times, because I don't hear enough people talk about this, and you can tell me if I'm being too reactionary to this, because maybe in here in the Philadelphia area, we're a little too close to the situation, okay? I get frustrated with the turnovers at times. I feel like there are times that he commits turnovers that don't make any sense to me, and I would love to see him clean that up, because there was a 3-game stretch this year where he was averaging 6 turnovers a game. Now, last night he cleaned it up a lot more, but to me, I feel like that's really the precipice. If he can clean up the turnovers, I think his game goes to the next level.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, obviously, 4, I think he's around 4 a game turnover-wise. It's a little bit higher than he's been traditionally. I think ideally you'd want to cut that back down at least to what it was the last couple of years, around 3.5, maybe chip away at it a little more. But yeah, I think part of it certainly is a factor of having a new coach, a totally new offensive system. The stuff Dave Yeager kind of has them running, leading the offense is very different than Brett Brown's stuff. And yeah, I mean, like we mentioned, obviously, I've discounted the jumper just because I said there's plenty of ways to be effective even without it. But obviously, all else equal, it would be very helpful to be able to score outside of 5 feet. And there are some times where he kind of gets stuck in the air or stuck in an area wide open, and he won't shoot the ball and ends up throwing it away. And yeah, that can certainly be very frustrating at times. But it's also aggravating when people say, "Oh, he hasn't gotten any better offensively." I mean, even if you look just at the shot, first of all, that's not true because, I mean, look at free throws. He has gone up from 56 to 60 to 62 to 63. Giannis has gone in the opposite direction. That's important that he's making more free throws. Even the threes, he was 0 for 17 his first 2 years in the league. Now at least he has a chance of throwing one in every once in a blue moon. So yeah, I mean, even the shot has gotten a tiny bit better, but yeah, I mean, like I said, people don't realize that he's also gotten better finishing. He's gotten better with his handle, with his floor vision. All those things have improved, even if the shot obviously is nowhere close to really being game ready.
Now, Bryan, you're a non-hot take guy. You're a no BS guy. So I'm going to ask you about something that is getting hot take steam with the Sixers. Is it legitimate that Joel Embiid is an MVP candidate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think both of them, to be honest, right now have to at least be in the conversation. I think anytime you're the best team in a conference, you should have multiple guys who are getting mentioned for that. And yeah, I mean, Joel's been great. He's anchored the defense. He's scoring kind of the best, most efficiently that he has. And it was cool to see him also talk about how much he's loved playing with Ben this season, how much fun but they're having together. But yeah, I mean, having Tobias back, looking like his old self is great. Having Shake, like you said, might be in the running for most improved. Maxey might be in the running for rookie of the year. I mean, they've got a lot of exciting pieces, and Doc's I think done a great job so far getting them to play an exciting brand of basketball.
Bryan, for those who don't know, you were a video coordinator and advanced scout in the NBA with the Wizards and Hawks and Raptors. Can you touch on a little bit, something you touched on a little bit in your podcast, but I want to ask you a little more about it here, and that is, by the way, Scout with Bryan is the podcast. Doc Rivers' staff, Sam Cassell, Dave Yeager, he's got some legitimate guys on this staff. Can you touch on the importance of having a quality staff for an NBA team?
Yeah, tremendously important. I mean, I think, Doc's been a guy who always has kind of had it divided by like offensive coordinator, which I think is Yeager, defensive coordinator, which I think is Dan Burke, I believe this year, who was with the Pacers for a long time and is a brilliant defensive mind. And, Sam, I think kind of just oversees some things. And I know there's a couple other names I'm even forgetting who are pretty good coaches on that staff. But yeah, I think it's a much better staff overall than he had last season with the Clippers. I like and respect Brett Brown. I think he did a good job for a long time there. But when he lost Lloyd Pierce, he lost some of his assistants. That staff at times was kind of depleted and didn't have a lot of brain power, at least really respected around the league. So yeah, I mean, I think Yeager's definitely a head coach. Sacramento probably still wishes they didn't fire him, and you see how much things have fallen apart since they hired Luke Walton. And Sammy's obviously has tremendous experience and is a good voice to have in Ben Simmons' ears. And yeah, I think it's a good group that obviously is getting through to those guys right now.
Yeah, Sacramento chose the assistant GM over a winning head coach. It shows you where that franchise is going.
Clueless.
It really is bad. Bryan Oringher joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Again, at Scout with Bryan for all your NBA coverage, and make sure you sign up for his Patreon. The Patreon will pay for itself as long as you take all of his picks. What are you, 21-10 now on the NBA picks?
Yep, 21-10.
Yeah, so your picks will pay for the Patreon $5 subscription. So that's all you got to know, right?
Much more than that, even. Yeah, I should be charging $20 a month.
So Bryan, I want to ask you a couple other NBA things. I want to go to the Nets because, to me, the Nets situation is an amazing experimentation in basketball psychology and human psychology, because you have three very different dudes. And what makes it also interesting to me is that we know that Durant loves the game of basketball, right? We know that Harden's a gamer, and he's really evolved his game from when he got to Houston to what he is now. But as you mentioned on the pod, Kyrie Irving is a wild card. I believe that Kyrie Irving doesn't love basketball. He loves what basketball can do for him. So how do you think that situation will play out if Kyrie isn't bought in the way he needs to be? Because we know Durant and Harden, they're gamers. But what happens if Kyrie doesn't get bought in?
If Kyrie doesn't get bought in, honestly, I hope he retires or something mid-season, so at least they can, put all their energy into KD and Harden, figuring out how to have a winning team with them, which, was working pretty well through the two games that they played alone. Obviously, since Kyrie's come back, it fell apart in the two games against Cleveland. And yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I do think he likes basketball. He's obviously tremendously gifted at it, but he kind of sees himself as a Mother Teresa type character who, it's admirable. He does a lot of good things in the community, has a lot of other interests, but like I said on the podcast, right now you're getting paid max money to be a basketball player, and so you are literally contractually obligated to do that job, and you can't be disappearing for a week in the middle of the season. So yeah, I think he clearly is the biggest question mark, and his level of buy-in will really determine things. Their success. And yeah, there's no question they can outscore anybody. They can put up 130, 135 points every night. But, if you give up 140, it's not going to win enough games. So it's a long season. They still got time to figure it out. But Kyrie to me is who the heck knows what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, and Bryan, to me, it's even more important because people are saying, oh, the Nets are the favorite now in the East. Well, yeah, I mean, you get a couple MVP winners on the roster. It's great. But, Bryan, they gave up so much to get Harden. They basically imploded half of their depth. They gave away their entire future when we heard the Nets do that before. Wasn't that like 6 years ago when they did that? So it's like at some point, it's like, okay, you have Harden, Durant, and Kyrie, but who else is on the floor? Like, you're going to tell me that if one of those guys goes down with an injury that Joe Harris is going to go out there and put up 20?
Don't discount Joe Harris because that guy could shoot the crap out of the ball. He's pretty good. But, no, I get what you're saying. And yeah, I think clearly the depth is a big issue. I think, most glaringly to me is like Reggie Perry, who I think was on like a two-way, is kind of like their backup center now. He's I don't think ready for that kind of role. Obviously losing Dinwiddie for probably the season was a huge loss. And yeah, like you mentioned, they traded probably the best center on their roster. They traded LeVert, who obviously is not playing now and had the scare that thankfully they discovered. But yeah, I mean, I think he's one of the most talented scorers in the league. So, it's a tough job for Sean Marks. And I think he's got to find a way to maybe around the deadline or in the coming weeks, add at least a couple defensive-minded guys. Because right now, they don't really, Bruce Brown might be their best defender. They don't really have anybody that really buys in on that end. They need another center. DeAndre Jordan has been a guy that's gotten DNP coaches' decisions in the last few years, and now he's supposed to play 30 minutes a game and be your starting center. I mean, it's a tall ask of him. So yeah, depth is definitely an issue. But with the level of talent they have, there's not going to be excuses. You still absolutely need to at least be in the Eastern Conference Finals in my book.
For more insights on the NBA, make sure you follow him on Twitter @Scout with Bryan. Sign up for his Patreon, just $5 a month. Get you access to everything you could ever need on the NBA. Also, the Scout with Bryan podcast. That's Bryan with a Y. Former NBA advanced scout, video coordinator, worked with the Wizards, Hawks, and Raptors. Joined us here on 97.3 ESPN. As all guests, he appeared on the Boardwalk kind of hotline. Bryan, always appreciate the times and the insights. Keep up the great work, man.
Appreciate it, Josh. Thanks again for having me.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, we'll get back to your text in just a bit at 609-403-0973. Of course, we'll give you my FanDuel Sportsbook picks for the night for UFC 257 and for the NFL Championship Sunday tomorrow coming up here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just go to 973 ESPN where you can watch the show live here in the Matt Blatt Kia studios.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Here's a long shot by Shake. It's got again. Shake Milton is on fire. Whoa.
The Sixers are in Detroit to face the Pistons.
Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
On some models, excludes Corvette with GMF financing, excludes prior sales. See dealer for details.
Start the new year in a new Chevy at Bennett Chevy. Come see all the hot new 2021s and get our famous unbeatable Bennett deal. GM supplier employee pricing, plus you keep all the rebates. And right now, that could be up to 25% off MSRP. Yes, up to 25% off. Shop all you want, but there's just no beating Bennett. Looking for pre-owned? Bennett will pay you a minimum $7,000 for your trade towards any pre-owned in stock. That's at least $7,000, regardless of how or even if your old car runs. Imagine how much you'll get for a good trade. And you will absolutely love dealing with Bennett. There's no games, no gimmicks, just real deals and no need to negotiate because our non-commissioned sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Find new roads and start the new year in a new Chevy at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Babe, look, Cash Pop from the New Jersey Lottery. We just got to match one number, 1 through 15, to win.
Whoa, so easy.
Our anniversary date? September
6th?
14th.
Not to interrupt you guys, but the more numbers you play, the better your odds of winning.
Well, the 6th was our first date anniversary.
Aw, let's play both numbers.
With Cash Pop, you could win up to 250 times your wager. So pop in and play. Anything can happen in Jersey. Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Pros bring something extra to every job. Now at the Home Depot, they also get something extra. Pro Extra, our free loyalty program built for pros just like you. Members earn perks with every dollar spent, like Pro Extra Dollars, a tool rental credit, and more. New members get $20 off their next in-store purchase of $200 or more just for signing up. Learn more at homedepot.com/Pro Extra. New year, more rewards, Pro Extra, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
If you're struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to take action and get professional help. Call Recovery Centers of America at 1-888-RECOVERY today. You are worthy of recovery from your addiction, and calling RCA will be your first step in getting the help you need. Recovery Centers of America answers the phone and admits patients 24/7. And because safety is a top priority, all patients and staff are routinely tested for COVID-19. RCA's expert team of physicians and medical professionals will treat you with compassion and dignity and provide an evidence-based treatment plan that is custom-tailored to your specific needs. Recovery Centers of America at Devon and Lighthouse are local and in-network with insurance providers, so their best-in-class inpatient and outpatient care, offered both in-person and via teletherapy, is affordable and accessible. Make this the year you conquer your addiction. Call today, 1-888-RECOVERY. That's 1-888-RECOVERY.
The Rocket Mortgage Super Bowl Squares Sweepstakes is back. It's the largest official game of Super Bowl Squares ever, with millions of dollars in prizes, and best of all, it's free to enter. Every score change, someone wins $50,000. Just enter for free at rocketmortgagesquares.com, and it could be you. Touchdowns, field goals, safeties, extra points. Every single score change will draw one lucky winner from the square to win $50,000. Plus, 2 grand prize winners will win $500,000 they could use toward their dream home. One way to enter, 2 ways to win. See rules and enter for free at rocketmortgagesquares.com. Then tune into the Super Bowl on February 7th to see if you bring home some dough. Rocket Mortgage, official mortgage sponsor of Super Bowl 55.
No purchase necessary. Legal residents of the 50 U.S. and D.C. of age of majority. Ends 2/4/2021, 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. The NFL entities as defined in the official rules have not offered or sponsored this promotion in any way.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. But maybe you're unaware of new tools that can help your business stand out. Go to getlocalcustomersnow.com for a free market competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too. There's no cost and no obligation. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Get started today. Visit getlocalcustomersnow.com. That's getlocalcustomersnow.com.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
We'll get back to your text in just a bit, 609-403-0970. We also got a couple comments from the Facebook and YouTube streams to get to, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Don't forget about my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. UFC 257 is tonight. You can get amazing odds on who will win with FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, when you sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook with my promo code Hennig, Hennig, new users can unlock 25-1 odds on either McGregor or Poirier to win tonight. That means you can turn $5 into $125 with FanDuel Sportsbook. Again, the promo code is Hennig at sign up when you download the FanDuel Sportsbook app or sign up at sportsbook.fanduel.com. You can get those 25-1 odds on McGregor versus Poirier right now with promo code Hennig on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. See full terms and conditions at sportsbook.fanduel.com. I gave you some of my picks yesterday for the fights, and I'll get to them in just a moment here. But I want to remind everybody that when it comes to the fights tonight, there is something you got to remember when it comes to these fights. And that is, when you look at the fight card tonight, you're looking at a situation where you have some amazing fighters on this card, and not every fight is going to be a value play. All right. I've told you guys 100 times here on 97.3 ESPN since we started doing the UFC picks back in May. All right. You got to find value. So here's where the value, all right, is on the fight card tonight. It first doesn't start with McGregor and Poirier unless you jump on FanDuel Sportsbook app and use the promo code. But if you're already a customer, you might not be able to get those 25-1 odds. Maybe you didn't sign up with the promo code, right? So here's some other odds you can get. Michael Chandler is currently plus 125 at most sports books to win. I've said it before yesterday. I think that Dan Hooker got exposed a little bit by Dustin Poirier. I think that Poirier showed that you can change levels on Hooker and it frustrates him. Chandler is a grinder. His only losses have been to an amazing game plan by Eddie Alvarez, a freak athlete named Will Brooks, and the other fights that he's lost, it's just great game plans. It's not like he's being beat left and right. He was the Bellator champ for a reason. The guy is one of the best lightweights on the planet. And I think this fight between Hooker and Chandler is going to be a war. So either Chandler is going to win outright, or this fight is just going to go the distance. Okay. So that's how I'm looking at that matchup. The other value play on the card, as I mentioned earlier to Andy McNamara, Antonio Carlos Jr. This guy is currently he was an underdog coming into the night, but now he's looking closer to him and Brad Tavares are both minus 112 at FanDuel Sportsbook. But if you jump on him to win by submission, that's where the value is, okay? That's where you can get some great value because he is a submission specialist. And as I mentioned, Brad Tavares is way past his prime. And just my overall picks for the night, I do think McGregor is going to win. I think McGregor's on a mission to prove everybody wrong. I think Chandler wins. I think Jessica I beats Joanne Calderwood. I think Amanda Ribas crushes Marina Rodriguez. I think that Antonio Carlos Jr. wins. And I also think that Khalil Roundtree Jr. is going to knock out Marcin Pacino in the prelims. My NFL picks, I mentioned them earlier. I'm going Packers and I'm going Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens with the games tomorrow. You hear them right here on 97.3 ESPN. If you're going to throw a little something on the games tomorrow, I personally would go Bills, Chiefs over 54.5. Again, don't get the same game parlays on FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm Josh Hennig. This has been Sports Bash Saturday. Thanks to Andy McNamara and Bryan Oringher for joining the show. Thanks everybody texting. We're starting to get to all the comments and the texts. And I'll catch you guys on game night on Monday night at 6 o'clock.
Offer excludes new Corvettes and new Cadillacs. Kerbeck of Atlantic City Model Year Closeout. All remaining 2020 models must go at Kerbeck Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac of Atlantic City. 2020 Chevrolet Equinoxes. Over $7,000 off original MSRP. Over 30 to choose. All Equinox models in stock. Premiers, LS, and LT. As low as 0% up to 72 months. 2020 Chevrolet Equinoxes. Over $7,000 off original MSRP. Over 30 to choose. All Equinox models, Premiers, LS, and LT. As low as 0% up to 72 months. Save on any new Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, or Pre-owned. We are Kerbeck Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac of Atlantic City, Albany Avenue. Kerbeck of Atlantic City Model Year Closeout. Click KerbeckAtlanticCity.com. Find new roads. Call Kerbeck for details. 1-866-518-0086.
These days, it's okay to do some things halfway, like wearing your pajama bottoms on a work call. But managing your prescriptions shouldn't be one of them. That's why CVS has a proprietary search tool to find ways that may help lower your prescription costs, and will deliver them for free. No wonder CVS customers are better than most at staying on prescriptions, which tends to make you healthier. Come in or call today and get a free prescription savings review at CVS.